I've recently watched the movie Dogman and I really love the character, so I decided to make him. But before I do that, I got a new 3D pen because my last one died and this one kinda sucks. I don't know if it's faulty, but it will randomly just turn off. Along with the pen, I got a fresh roll of filament, and this time I'm going with khaki because it was 30% off and the deal is a steal. I will say this pen is very comfortable to use, and I thought it would be just like the Pro version just without the screen, but I was wrong. I don't recommend this one, which is rare because MYNT makes great pens. To begin Dogman, I started with the frame. I didn't read the comics this movie was based off of, and I thought it was about a dog who just became a cop. You can imagine my surprise when I found out that the cop died and they just gave the dog his body. They don't even mention the cop dying, he's just dead, which makes sense when you can clearly see the stitches around the neck. I thought it was just a design in the uniform. Once the basic frame is completed, it's time to fill it in. The filament cools down rather quickly when it comes out the pen, so it's not burning hot. Now it's time to play the game I call Speedrun Carpal Tunnel. We take a break from the game so I can tell you don't remove the legs until you fill them in. Now back to the game. This takes a very long time, but I've learned to be patient and just do a bunch of layers. All this work really does produce the best outcome. Who could have predicted hard work works? Back to the legs, since I removed them early I struggled with making them and had to fix them multiple times. On top of that, the poor dog can't stand up. Now the most time consuming part, filling in the frame. This is the reason why I spent so much time filling in the base. Otherwise, once I started to do this part, the frame would sink in. And since I knew this would take a lot of filling in, I downscaled the 3D model to something I thought was a bit more manageable. I was going for the leaning pose from the beginning of the video, but this mainly failed because of the legs. It's so much easier creating a pose when you just have the bare bones of the frame versus when you have completely filled in 3D objects. I'm using my new tool to smooth out this project. I'll link everything I use in the description. I know people don't look at it much, so I kinda keep it empty, but I wanted it to look a bit more professional. I did enjoy this movie quite a bit, even though it was more for kids. I haven't been a kid in a very long time. Now it's time to grind it down, and I must say this is probably the best filament I've ever sanded. It's really soft and turns into a powder when sanded. It makes it way easier to get a smoother result compared to the other filaments I've used. Even going back over with a sanding stick produces great results. You don't even need a power tool for this filament. Just look at the mess I have to clean. Like, look how smooth this is and I haven't done anything. Now it's time to make all the detail parts, starting with the badge. Then to make the hat, I just made 2 of these pieces, then connected them with filament. To make the hands, I just stacked up the filament until it kinda looked like a hand. These weren't too difficult because they have no details to them. Hands are just one of those things that are so difficult to make no matter the art form. Then it's time to smooth out all these pieces. Again, the reason I didn't make all these pieces at the same time to smooth them all out at the same time is because then they got sanded down just like all the other pieces. Since the Dremel is so rough, I had to hand sand to remove all the harsh parts. My original plan was to connect all the pieces with filament, but I ditched this idea for magnets, mostly because it makes it easier to paint and because I bought magnets and I need to use them. To smooth out this project even more, I'll be using this car putty. You're supposed to use thin layers because it cracks, but I didn't read the instructions at the time. I'll definitely be thinning this out in the future so it isn't so thick so it's easier to apply, but it did work well even though I used it completely wrong. And here we go again. It did end up having minor cracks, but not too terrible. I also completely forgot to make the nose, so here's me making it. After making the nose, I made the mouth and the other smaller details. Like I said previously, I really did enjoy the Dogman movie. The humor was pretty funny, but again, I don't know how comic accurate the movie turned out to be. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. I do feel like the movie could have ended a bit sooner than it did. The last thing I made were the little dots for the face and then the eyes. The eyes were just ovals, which is so easy. I like things that are easy to make. Everything got primed for painting. I got this new clear water-based primer, which is great because it doesn't thicken up like gesso. I can do multiple coats and never have to worry about messing up something I just sanded. The only blue I had was too blue, so I added some white to lighten it up. I mixed this up real good and added some thinner because I'm using an airbrush. I'm still learning how to use this properly. It's a bit difficult getting the right consistency. I got this perfect, but the orange was too thin and dripped. You can see this just looks bad, so I ended up switching to paintbrushes for the rest of the painting. I used the 2 blue paint for the jeans. Then everything that needed to be painted black got painted black. This nose fell off, but thankfully you can't tell. Oh, and the arm fell off, and I literally have no clue how this happened. I just set it down and picked it up. It got super glued back on, and since I already had the super glue out, I glued on everything else. This is how my Dogman figure turned out. I think it looks nice. I would change the legs and the hands, but it's all a learning experience. Since I just finished everything on the body, it's time to finally add the badge and get a good thumbnail. With that being the final parts that needed to be added on, Dogman is done, and I would add him to my turntable, but again, he doesn't stand up, so that's all for this video.